Good morning. We're going to endeavor to do something extraordinary right now. We're going to have everyone in the room in one photo. So if you can indulge me and step onto the back, our photographer Danny Allen is right there, and she's going to capture this moment for us. Good morning, everyone. Give you a couple of seconds to get yourselves settled, and we'll start the day. It's June 8th, 2017. 6 years since the beginning of an amazing journey. And I want to welcome you for taking the time in your very busy lives, for making this vision, this mission a priority today, for being visible and being heard for those that aren't visible and sometimes have no voice. And I want to also thank our hosts for the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking, our hosts here at Kane University, because oftentimes it's the gathering that makes things possible. It's the coming together. So I want to thank all of the folks that have made this possible here today, but in particular, I want to thank Janice Kropolsky, the director of the Holocaust Resource Center and Diversity Council here at Kane. I also want to thank President Dr. Dawood Farahi, even though he's not here today. He has allowed us to gather today at our campus, in this campus. So that's very wonderful. And Dr. Hank Kaplowitz, thank you. With a name like Esmilda Brew-Hornbostel, you know, I pay attention. So I want to thank them, and I want to thank them not only because they've opened up their home to us, but because of the beautiful way that they did, include us. The wonderful bags, the water bottles, the space, the fabulous, generous spirit. And we're a small organization, but we'd like to thank them. So if Janice and Hank could come on up. Where's Janice? Okay, we'll have it for her. The thank yous are also important for all of the folks in the back. You know, oftentimes when it comes to these gatherings, we forget the IT. We forget the folks setting up all of the registration tables. And for me, I'm one of those that knows that the magic doesn't happen without many wizards behind the curtain. So I want to take a moment just to thank everyone that created the morning as well. I also wanted to take a moment to have our Board of Trustees stand up and be recognized for all their work this year and for much of their work in the last 6 years. So if we can thank our board. Wonderful. I get sentimental sometimes when it comes to the issue of freedom. In particular, we have a family. Ooh. Are we good? In particular, we have a family story. My uncle Ira was born in Auschwitz the day of the American liberation. And he was born there, we don't know, for good or for bad. His mother was allowed to keep the child and have the child because one soldier said, "I'd rather kill 2 Jews than 1." Did he do it as an act of mercy in a dangerous time? Was it evil? Was it truth? Was it bold? Either way, it allowed for months and months to pass and for Ira to be born. It also required many things for him to be born. It required governments to put resources into play. It required individuals to put their lives on the line. It required a principle of commitment to freedom for everybody. And so I want to thank you for your commitment to freedom, because today is really no less dramatic in my life. Gathering together under this idea of uniting organizations against human trafficking is powerful. Making it principle in your life is bold. And for me, it means a world of difference. Because it's a story that I hope future generations will talk about. That we didn't allow things to go into the darkness. That we didn't just forget that slavery is real today. Right? One of my heroes, Frederick Douglass, once said, "I expose slavery in this country because to expose it is to kill it." And I know that that seems so small. Let's just create awareness. Let's just talk about it. It feels not enough, but it is. It's very, very powerful. When you come together and make things visible, when you expose wrong, you have the first opportunity to make right. The mission of the coalition is uniting New Jersey communities to abolish human trafficking. And we've strategized, and we've planned, and we've collaborated in the last 6 years. And today I have the most wonderful announcement. We've organized under the idea of a 501c3 so that the coalition is a permanent structure, so that we are, and that we are recognized, so that we can fully contribute to the work of the more than 140 member organizations that's under this coalition, and all of the individuals within those organizations. We're going to be stronger, creating a portal of action and education in the state of New Jersey. We're going to be able to engage the community in a very active way. This portal model that we've created has 5 primary functions, and I want to share with you today the functions. We're going to lead a comprehensive abolitionist movement against slavery. We're going to educate the public about legislation and foster informed dialogue. We're going to moderate advocacy efforts in this state of New Jersey. We're going to create a statewide resource and referral directory. We're going to integrate services. And finally, we're going to mobilize our grassroots partners and community members when the action is needed, because it's in the moment that you can make the most drastic change. I also wanted to talk about why New Jersey. Why New Jersey? Why are we doing all this in New Jersey? The Super Bowl is over, right? We can't blink. Too many lives are at risk. We have to keep our eyes wide open here in New Jersey. New Jersey is an interesting place. We're one of the most diverse states in the country, as reflected in this room. It's also one of the wealthiest states in the country. And it's also one of the most segregated states in the country, second only to Alabama. So this interesting mix of who we are, what we can and cannot do, influences us. It's a major national and international transportation and shipping corridor. Anyone can look like someone from New Jersey. And anyone can hide. And anyone can be hidden. These factors create a prime location for human trafficking, and it is very important that we understand the risk that New Jersey is under. I also wanted to let you know that this is a $32 billion illegal industry in which 83% of its victims are U.S. citizens. Can I repeat that? 83% of its victims are U.S. citizens. We are a harvest nation as well as a consumer nation of trafficking. And when I say things like harvest, human beings as products, it changes the dialogue. The typical age of enslavement is between 12 and 14, and when our children are harvested, it changes our community. Trafficking also finances organized crime groups, which participate in other illegal activities such as drug and weapons trafficking, money laundering. It creates a lack of safety for everyone. It negatively impacts local and national labor markets due to the loss of human resources. It burdens our public health system and erodes government authority. It encourages widespread corruption. It threatens the overall security of vulnerable populations. It is our local problem. So I don't want to leave you with doom and gloom. I want to let you know why the coalition matters and why your work is more important than ever. After developing this 501c3 status, we hope to aim 5 key objectives. We want to lead a comprehensive abolitionist movement against human trafficking, educate the public about legislation, and foster dialogue, moderate advocacy, create statewide resources, and today we start with official mobilization of everyone here in this room. You're going to be our eyes, and you're going to keep them wide open. So thank you very much for coming. Teams are only powerful when each and every player gives their utmost. And we are so blessed to have an amazing executive director. Mandy Bristol Leverett is here today to give you a wonderful report, tell you a little bit about what we've been up to this year. Mandy?
So I'm usually not the tall one. This is different. Thank you all for coming. We want to thank anyone that may be viewing us via the streaming through Kane University, and we want to thank Kane also for making that available. That's a wonderful option we've never had before, so that's wonderful. And we especially want to thank Esmelda. Nobody got to say how awesome she is, so let's give a round of applause for Esmelda. We appreciate your seasoned leadership and taking the helm at a very strategic time in our coalition, in our state. So we recognize that and we say thank you. I have a lot of information to cover in a very short amount of time. We've already acknowledged our Board of Trustees. I want to just highlight the work that we do would not be possible whatsoever without the diligent leadership of Kate. Kate, can I have you stand? Kate, stay standing, please. Kate Lee and Tejal, are you? She's hiding again. She's hiding and she's still working. This is our office administration staff. Kate is our administrator. She's also our Board of Trustees treasurer. She carries a lot of hats, wears a lot of hats. Tejal is our office manager, and we appreciate what has been accomplished here today would not be possible without their leadership, their assistance, and their dogged work. So thank you so much. And this would not be possible without you. We are not a coalition without you. So we want to thank you for everything that you do. So give each other a hand again. So I want to just quickly explore what we've done together. And the number one thing that we really value is our diversity. Did that just move? Our diversity is really important. It's what holds us together. It's what invites everyone to the table, and we intentionally protect our diversity. So, and that means you. As you can see, as Esmelda said, we are over 140 very diverse organizations that don't typically work together or have been siloed previously, but now we can see each other and make such a greater difference and impact together. We are better together. And so we appreciate the coalition for creating that space for each other and for our state. We've become a resource for our state because we see each other. So also, I'm just going to go down a list, not an exhaustive list, but a list of what we have accomplished in less than 1 year. So in less than 1 year, we finished our bylaws, we became a 501c3, we elected and appointed a 100% volunteer leadership group. We expanded our numbers and scope and our committees by 5 times 5 in less than 1 year. We mobilized members with our professional, you've seen our signs. I love our signs because I've been to events where I've had these rickety, it didn't represent us well. Now we can mobilize simultaneously 8 teams to represent us well throughout the state. We've created a new website. We've created and streamlined our systems. We've garnered new regional strategic partners. We've expanded our media reach. We've upgraded our community toolkit, which is vital to engaging people on an ongoing basis. We've conducted 2 big gives, resulting in over $2,000 of gift cards given to service providers in our state, and over 200 items for our special Big Spaces give for our new service providers expanding into this area, and our state service provider opening 3 new offices. Now, when I say 200 items, that may not seem like very much. Some of the items were bags of clothing and bags. So we don't really know the full number, but we know you gave bigly. And so we thank you so much. Let's give all of our donors a hand. So much of what is donated to the coalition is not just monetarily or via even our volunteer hours, but resources and connections. Like we're here representing, we're here in a place that really was the impetus of the coalition. Our first initiative started at a roundtable, a legislative roundtable that happened right here at Kean University. And even with that full circle, we just learned today that Janice, who is hosting us today, that she was not only the teacher, a high school teacher of one of our New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking student abolitionists, Christian, but also of one of our interns, Jenna. You'll be hearing from her later. So even as a high school teacher, she helped build the foundation of what we are today. So this is just one example of a myriad of examples of how the little things we do on an ongoing basis make a huge difference. And there's a legacy and a connection. And we can see that because we can see each other now because of the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking. So we also engaged our first batch of interns, and we received an Outstanding Injury Prevention Award right over here. And then from Robert Wood Johnson, another one of our donating partners. And then just yesterday, we at the Picatinny Arsenal, they honored us with another award. So this is how collaboration works, and this is how, you know, working together matters. So we want to talk about our powerful 15. So the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking mobilizes you by our 15 committees. So these make superheroes out of every one of us. In fact, I put it this way when I'm talking to groups. I say, you know, we have many different committees that mobilize our initiatives, that do incredible work throughout the state, and that's where our work is funneled. And I tell them, you know, if you have whatever you're interested in, whatever your skill set is, we probably have a committee for that. So we want to engage you today before you leave. If you are not a member of the coalition or not a member of some of our committees, we want to make sure you get plugged in to best utilize your interests, your resources, your talent to make the biggest impact possible, because these are the places where our collaboration happens. So 15, we're going to go through it at the speed of light, okay, if I can. The first 3 we're going to recognize are our timely committees. So that includes our legal, our nomination committee, and our policy committee. If you're one of those committee members, these are our co-chairs. If that is you, I would ask you to stand now so we can recognize you. This would not happen had you not created those documents that are our founding documents. This would not have happened if you wouldn't have nominated and done the behind-the-scenes work. So thank you so much. And then we have our veteran committees. These are the ones that have been ongoing, and they've been kind of the backbone for a while of our coalition. Our steering committee has been our organizing and our leadership committee. It's one of our largest committees that approves all of our other committees. And so what we do happens there. And we're open for membership. Certain times of the year we open the roster for membership. So we want to make sure that if you want to be a part of the steering committee, that is available to you. You can talk to our representatives at the tables when we're finished. But also probably our oldest committee that's consistently stayed together is our SOAP committee. If you haven't been engaged with SOAP, it stands for Save Our Adolescents from Prostitution. The initiative was actually launched right here in New Jersey 8 years ago, before we even had a coalition. And then later, when we hosted our Super Bowl, we did our first work here in the state of New Jersey and have done 8 ever since. So if you've never been with us on a SOAP outreach, I'll just mention what we do really quickly. We train volunteers, we mobilize them, we give them packets of information for hotel staff, bars of hotel soap labeled with the national hotline number, and updated pictures of area missing children. And then we go and we mobilize in teams to give that to the staff. This is supposed to empower the staff to watch, to be aware, and to do something. And so this is our 8th outreach. Every time we've done this, at least one person, one of the kids on our posters, have been identified by hotel staff while our volunteers were there. We know for sure children in New Jersey have been rescued from area hotels because our volunteers have done what they've done. It's one of our most invigorating opportunities. Next spring, we're going to bring this up north again. We rotate it throughout the state. This last one we did, once again, the day we did our event, while our volunteers were there, one was identified. Her picture came up in the roster. She had a fake ID based out of New York. So the FBI was contacted, and they're working on the issue right now. We missed her by 2 days. And then this week they finished the 100th hotel. We didn't get to finish all of the hotels. This week they finished the 100th hotel, and another young person on our missing children poster was identified by her name. So this is an ongoing initiative. We're not supposed to see results right away, but we know it's effective because of the results. We want to invite you to our next event, so stay tuned. If you would like to be part of that subcommittee, that is also available. Another very pioneer organization or committee that we've pioneered is the Education Committee. Our presidents are here. Our president is part of that committee. But I want to just say, if you're part of one of these committees, would you stand? We want to recognize, if you are a co-chair of these committees, we want to just ask you to stand and honor you. Esmelda is, she'll be, Danny's in the back. But we want to thank you for the work that you do. Let's give them a hand. One of our strategies is to create models that can be implemented into existing structures, professional structures for sustainability. So our first coalition to really create that was our Education Committee with professionally accredited education for teachers in the school. We had our first outreach, our first training at Montclair State University. Our second one was this year at Drew University. But we created a model that also informed our New Jersey Education Association and our BOE for the state, so that they held 3 symposiums throughout the state, taking most of our speakers, a lot of our members, and training within the system that exists. And that's exactly what we're working toward. We want it to be self-sustaining. And as a result, we're in more schools on an ongoing basis. We're invited to more teacher trainings, again, fitting within the existing systems, and that is our goal. So we are so grateful for the work of the Education Committee. And then we are awareness-driven. So we like to bring awareness to our communities in an important and empowering way. So right here we see it in the pictures, our January awareness event. We had simultaneous events throughout the state. The 2016 method was to have one large state event, and that garnered 400 in attendance for a human trafficking only event, which is remarkable for our state and even for the nation. That was unprecedented. So that was powerful, but our goal this year was to make them regionally accessible. And so we held 2 simultaneous trainings that reached just over 300 with the human trafficking awareness, trauma-informed care specialty training, and we also did a summit in North Jersey. So with the combined number that we reached reached 400 and over 480 people attended one of those 3 events. And we also garnered regional connections because we'd never been in the Northwest region as far as previously with the coalition. So these are important partnerships. These are people that are engaging on an ongoing basis because we went to them. So, and then also we have our arts. Our arts committee is amazing. Their debut event will be the event coming up, the Traffic Slam event. And if you haven't been tapped to provide a poem or spoken word, please do so before you leave. Leave that with us, and it will be submitted. Today is the last day that can get in. We want to invite you to this event. It's a celebration of our becoming a 501c3. It's a fundraiser, but it's also a friend-raiser. We have, I'm not sure how many poems we have submitted, but we have quite a few now, and we're so excited to see them performed. Also, we have our survivor-centric approach. So with our healthcare committee, their debut was this January, the partnership with the events committee to do the January human trafficking training for trauma-informed care. And then an additional, more intensive training in May. So this is a picture of our team. If you're part of the healthcare committee and co-chairs, would you please stand up? We've got a couple here. Thank you so much. Survivor services, we want to also be survivor-centric and survivor-informed. So we are creating a committee that helps identify services and collaborate together so we have greater reach and we can resource across our programs and departments more effectively. So that's upcoming. We also have, we've also carved out a small budget to employ a per diem survivor to be a consultant with the coalition. So because we want everything we do to be survivor informed. So together with that, we are able to be survivor centric. Then finally, we have our final four, our legislative committee. Again, returning to our roots and reviving what's always been there. And so in case you're not aware, there are a lot of bills out there, pieces of legislation and amendments, but sometimes well-intended pieces of legislation, bills, they might have unintended consequences. So we have a committee of experts that vet them, that make sure, we have consultants in various fields to make sure when we mobilize you to support a bill, we've thoroughly looked it through. We may not be jumping on bills right away, but we want to make sure we get it right, because it's very difficult to undo a problem once something becomes law. So if you would like to be part of that committee, we want to invite, in fact, you see down here, we just completed our legislative roundtable. It was a great event. From that event came 5 subcommittees that are active working on actionable legislation. So if you would, almost all of our trainings can be, or almost all of our committees can be engaged with via a call. So it doesn't matter what part of the state you live in, you can be a part of any of these committees, and we encourage you to even explore what might interest you. Also, we have our Slave-Free Commerce Committee with Bob. This is a new initiative, and it really ties, they're really functioning right now as part of the legislation that has to do with the supply chain and fair trade. But these are all areas. We want to make sure we're not just covering one area, but we're covering all areas, including national legislation. We have some of our members that are here today from that subcommittee. And then we have our fundraising committee, which really we've always had an element of fundraising, but now we are more diversified than ever before. And so if you would like to be a part of that, we've done things like the California Pizza Kitchen fundraiser. Then we charged for the minimal fee for the trauma training in May. These are all different venues. Of course, many of us are wearing our Be Free necklaces, which are both an awareness piece, an action piece, and a fundraiser. So these are all different ways to make a difference. And then, what did I miss? I missed the Speakers Guild. Where was that? Oh, it's the Speakers Bureau. I'm going back over here. I apologize. The Speakers Bureau has made greater proliferation possible. Now we can mobilize speakers to any part of the state in very quick, rapid rate. So we're so grateful that we can better serve the coalition because of the Speakers Bureau, because of the Final Four, and because of our internship program. I'm not going to go into that because our interns are going to represent that in a few minutes, but I want to just say, if you're part of the Speakers Bureau, if you're a co-chair for that, or if you're part of one of these Final Four, I want to ask that you stand and we recognize you and we thank you. If you are interested in joining any of these committees I just mentioned, you can join one or as many as you're interested in. Please make sure you see these individuals that stood today so you can be connected immediately. I'm going to turn this over now to our, to Louis, to Kate. Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. We have our financial report. Can we give Kate a hand for her awesomeness? No one fall asleep. I know it's financial.
Okay, I don't have to make that joke then. I always hate being the one giving the boring news, so I try to make it a bit more fun, but I also want to be really accurate about where we've been. I would say that June 2016, a year ago, seems a really long time ago. We set a very ambitious target back then. We tried to raise $130,000, mostly so that we could continue to employ a paid administrator and try to employ an executive director. But we just didn't manage to hit that target. We are basically we are an organization of organizations, and the reality is the organizations that we are make us up have to do their own fundraising. So it's just, there's not the extra from our organizations. But there's good news. So we found we could raise about 10% of that target, and that was enough to raise up to run our programs. So we decided to refocus, and we became a fully volunteer organization. We moved forward with our plans, as Mandy mentioned, to become a 501c3. We filed our certificate of incorporation. It's also boring stuff, but we did that in November, and the IRS documents in January, but the IRS then says, now you've been it since November. So effectively, the IRS think we are a non-profit since November of 2016. So as the year progressed, we started to develop new funding sources and actually raised our programmatic goals to $18,000. So, they're pretty pictures. It's a bit of a snapshot of our income sources in 2016 to 17, so showing some of those new funding sources. So a particular shout out to Susan Nair. Susan, stand up, because Mandy mentioned these bee-free necklaces, but this was entirely Susan's dream and idea. She pushed it, she kept mentioning it, and she then went out and found an artist who would create these necklaces, and then told the artist, okay, you have to be sure that all the materials you are using are slave-free. I don't honestly know what she must have felt our lovely artist at that moment, but it's not an easy thing to do, which goes to show you how important Bob's new committee is on slave-free commerce. All these things we are wearing, touching, who knows what the line of materials is. Is the cotton in my shirt slave-free? I don't know. We need to know the answers to that. So anyway, that was a lovely new sourcing, funding source, and it raised awareness. But we also had supportive committees like healthcare, because they decided to charge a nominal amount to come to their incredibly awesome training, actually to help out, because if you have a small amount that you ask people to pay to attend a training, they generally show up. And if you're providing lunch and people say they're coming but don't, it's a problem. We're trying to get people to show up. So it was a small charge, but they still covered the cost of the lunch, and they gave the entire money to the coalition. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I wish Diana Stares were here, because she's got the most amazing heart. She's the sort of initial leader of this committee, but she was already doing the work through Robert Wood Johnson, and she holds screenings, and every time she holds a screening, if there's a suggested donation, she gives it right back to us. And again, it's actions like that, the small things that really build up. In case you're looking at this and wondering, we have organizing member dues shown. That's an optional amount that voting members of the steering committee contribute. It's not a required amount, but actually it adds up to helping us diversify our income sources. And this is what next year we hope will look like. We're hoping to keep those pies from being dominant, cutting down each pie so no one is the thing we rely on too much. So we want to diversify even further. After we file our very first 990, which will be between July and November, we should be in an even better position to apply for corporate and grant funding, but we are so anticipating a little bit of that, which is what's helped to change those pie colors and shapes a bit more. We're also hoping to make January the month that we hold our annual fundraiser. So that will be very exciting, and keep listening, because you might feel that it's a very similar place that we are today, but fingers crossed, shouldn't jinx anything. So what are we spending our money on? This year's expenses and next year's projected expenses are fairly similar, so I've kept them on the same sheet, but we're keeping in mind some key ideas, our expense goals. We're doing our very best to reduce administrative costs where we can. We benefit massively from in-kind services, office services that are provided to us by the Jewish Federation of Greater Metro West. Again, our expense goals would be completely different if we didn't have that, and we thank them. But we're also reaching out to other organizations to help with other types of expenses, similarly to the Jewish Federation. We've invested money in a new website, but now we've got a platform that we can run ourselves. So having paid something like $1,000 a year to have someone run our website, we're down to, I do it for free, so that's good. Maybe not as well as somebody else, but it's free. So we don't want to also make false economies. We still have to be compliant. That means we will always have the appropriate insurance, and we'll make sure that we pay our money and do our filings every year for all the people you have to file when you're a 501c3. But we're taking advantage of some really cool things that 501c3s get offered. Who ever heard of the G Suite for nonprofits? It's very cool. It's the Google Suite. So now we've got web, email addresses that are at our website. So you write to info@njhumantrafficking.org. That service to be at your own website costs something like $30 a month. Google gives that free to nonprofits. So that's a great thing we're taking advantage of. Similarly, PayPal, when you're a registered 501c3, the fees are massively reduced. So we are doing our best to find what's out there. We also have a policy to only pay speaker honorariums to survivor speakers, and that helps to know that our finances are going to where we want them to go, and we're not paying for speakers. So we may not always have amazing speakers, but who we have, please know those people give their time for free and their expertise for free. So please come to our events and honor those people that are donating those things. Our board members are being trained. They're benefiting from formal training from the Junior League at no cost to the coalition. And basically, this whole thing reflects our mission. It's also an opportunity to show this. We can have an opportunity to say to organizations, here are our expenses. Would you be interested in taking one section of it? It's an opportunity to say, how about one organization funds soap? Every year we now want to have Teresa Flores come in from Ohio. We have to buy the bars of soap. The printing is very expensive. So these things are amazing, and it's an amazing outreach, but maybe one organization would like to sponsor that. This is an opportunity if they can see how we run our expenses to know what difference they can make. So this is your calendar for fundraising, because fundraising and the Treasury are all interlinked, and I wanted you to know how we do things. It's the times of year when we're going to ask for support. Obviously, we really hope you will come on June 22nd. It's going to be an awesome, you're going to hear more about that from Wincy, but that's going to be an awesome time, but very important to our bottom line. But I also want to say that we have chosen times, if anyone is a professional fundraiser or has worked in fundraising, you know that there are two key times of the year you want to focus on raising money for your organization. And we have deliberately chosen not to do that for our organization. Those times of year are just before Thanksgiving and into the holidays and in the spring. And that's where people are generous and they have maybe their tax rebates, whatever. Those two times of year are key times. We have chosen to use those times of year to focus our efforts on driving for survivors, because we want to engage you with really making a difference. So that's a very deliberate, strategic decision. It does mean that we are going to be asking for annual fund money at a time when it's not particularly a good time of year, but we just hope that you will support us. The goal is fairly reasonable, we think, and then we hope that you will all come in January to our major fundraiser. That will be our annual fundraiser going forward. So come in June, because it's our only June fundraiser, and after that you'll have to put a jacket on to come to our fundraisers. So I just wanted, I'm to be fiscally responsible, want to ask you if you have any questions about the finances. Great, hopefully I answered them all already. And so now I am delighted to hand this over to Louise Murray, Dr. Louise Murray, who will talk about our featured speakers today, our interns.
Good. Well, it's appropriate that Kate introduced me, because like so much of the work that we're doing, it starts with Kate. And back in November, Kate and I had lunch, and she said, I have had this brainstorm that January is Human Traffic Awareness Month, And January is a time when most undergraduates are still on holiday break, and wouldn't we like to harness their talent and energies to serve as interns? And because it's short, we have to make it very focused and have a payoff, obviously, in advancing our work. And the project we came up with was that we would enlist some student interns, obviously unpaid given our resources, and ask them to make 10 phone calls to mayors in our state. We realized we weren't going to be able to cover the entire state, and we elected for depth versus breadth. And our goals were twofold, our strategic goals. One, to ask the mayors if they would post a public service announcement developed by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security about human trafficking awareness on their municipal website. But our second goal, I think, was equally, if not more important. I'm still reeling with that fabulous report that Mandy provided about the work we've done this year. And as Kate has reported, we're in good fiscal shape. And these two achievements are clearly essential. But in addition, if we don't, I think of myself, I'm a good example, but my days are certainly shortly numbered. And if we don't keep our eye on supporting the young generation to continue our work, I think we're irresponsible. So this year we did some solicitation and identified 13 outstanding undergraduates who we thought would be more than capable to do this work. And we offered trainings. I'm a faculty member at the College of St. Elizabeth, and we had a training and a celebration party at the college. And our 13 interns made 130 calls to mayors, most of whom were very receptive. Equally important, however, is that each one of these student interns really developed a passion and commitment for advocating for human trafficking. And a few of the interns have had to take a pause and pursue their studies or getting the money together for the next semester. But I'm very confident, as is Kate and the other leaders of the coalition, that all 13 will make lifelong contributions to this very important issue. And we're very, very happy. Now, the treat and special event is that we're going to have two of the student interns, Gianluca D'Elia and Jenna, where are you? Jenna DeAngelis, speak to you in a minute. But I want to just highlight some of the work of our others. Ryan Agbram was just terrific. He's a student at Rutgers, graduated, and he just told us that this was a very enlightening experience, and he hopes to continue working with the coalition when he's able to. And currently he is pursuing a master's in public health, where he obviously will be very highly skilled after receiving his master's to continue our work. Obviously, maybe Ryan will have to take a, quote, sabbatical for a year or so, but we'll certainly have him for the long pull. Our next intern, Brittany Brown, was the first one we interviewed. Her enthusiasm is contagious. I don't know how she does it. She's a full-time student and a full-time employee for the TSA. So she has right there to be able to spot something that might be going on. She testified, as you see in the second paragraph, that she'd love to continue her involvement in the coalition, and recognizes us for bringing awareness to the very important issues around human trafficking. She's also done work with our SOAP project. Amy Gong is another one of the 5 students who joined us, of the 13 from Rutgers. She has contributed her artistic talents to one of our coalition members, a service organization, Love True. And she identified that interning for the coalition helped her in numerous ways. She developed a much deeper knowledge of the issue, and then increased her advocacy skills by role-playing and making the calls to the 10 mayors. And I think she sums up the point I was trying to make about a lifelong commitment when she said, "I will always be an advocate against human trafficking in New Jersey, the United States, or anywhere in the world." And that's really what we're after in this project. And another Sarah Lynn, also from Rutgers, very distinguished honor student. She appreciated meeting other students from across New Jersey who share our passion, and she took an active role recently in co-chairing one of the teams at the legislative workshop in April, and she's continuing to serve on the legislative committee. She's also going to be very active this fall at Rutgers University. So Sarah Lynn is certainly stepping right in. And Sarah McDonald is another wonderful student from Cornell University. And she claims, I think she's being very modest, that the internship gave her confidence in speaking to people about human trafficking. And she understood the role of municipalities. At our celebratory party in the end of January, Sarah was off to India, where she was going to take a semester abroad. South Africa. And again, she has made a lifelong commitment to human rights and fighting human trafficking. And finally, Phoebe Smith from Montclair. Her mom is a flight attendant, so from an early age, Phoebe became aware of the issues of human trafficking and wants to continue in expressing with her mother's commitment. She wants to be involved in the coalition and be a speaker for us. So our other interns, you can see, represent a lot of colleges. Alexandra Magnata did not send us anything, but I had the privilege of writing her a well-deserved recommendation. She's serving as an intern at the Dutchess County, that's in Poughkeepsie, New York, family court for the summer. And again, in a family court, certainly, if she doesn't encounter formal youth who are formally recognized as being survivors of human trafficking, certainly most of the youth who appear in a family court are at risk. And I'm sure she'll be able to make a very important contribution. I'd also like to recognize Taylor Van Barthel, who is now at Monmouth University, and she cut her teeth with Danny Pappas back at Project Stay Gold. So again, if we offer our young people opportunities to learn about this important issue, we can see that they remain committed. Now, the real treat is to hear from Gina Angelidis, who just graduated from Drew University, and she's going to Seton Hall with an MBA in finance. So Bob, maybe you want to recruit her for your committee on slave-free free goods. She's a double major, did a lot of work at Drew in organizing awareness around human trafficking. I had the pleasure of attending one of your workshops. It was outstanding on Human Trafficking 101. And I'll have Gina come up, and Gianluca Diella is a student journalist at Rider. He just received a very prestigious award to complete an honors thesis for his graduation next year, and he's a summer intern with Assemblyman Tim Eustace. And Gianluca is interested in interviewing people about our work. So if you can take a look at him in a couple of minutes and introduce yourself if you would like to share anything with him. But Jenna, why don't you come up and tell us your story? They're great. Here you go.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Louise Murray, for that introduction, and thank you, Kate, for asking me to come speak today. I'm going to speak about a couple things. First, about how I got involved with the coalition when I was a freshman in college, about my personal internship experience, and then my work with the Human Trafficking Symposium held at my university, Drew University, and the type of work that I want to continue doing with the coalition. So I'm a civic scholar at Drew University, or was a civic scholar. So it's an academic program. All civics are required to do at least 100 hours of volunteer service a year. And we do projects, events, service work. We take classes on community engagement and things like that. So one of our requirements were we had to do a project for our freshman year with a group on a topic that we cared about, that we were passionate about. So I convinced my group that we should focus on human trafficking, because out of all of our fellow civics, I haven't heard of anyone addressing this issue. So I felt it was really important, and I specifically wanted to join the Civic Scholar program so that I could do something addressing this topic. So I actually met the former director of the coalition, Melanie Gorelick, at an event that she held in Morristown, and I told her what I was looking to do, and she immediately wanted to get involved. So long story short, she helped me plan an event called Drew Stands Against Human Trafficking, and it was held at Drew University in the same location that we held our symposium. And over 200 people came, and it really meant a lot because as a freshman at 18 years old, I was able to make such an impact in the community, and it really gave me confidence to continue this type of work. So 3 years later, or I actually really wanted to do my civic internship with the coalition my sophomore year, but the program didn't exist at the time. So when I was a senior, I received an email from the coalition telling me about the internship opportunity. So I immediately spoke to Tijal about it, and I was really excited, and I met with Dr. Louise Murray at St. Elizabeth's to talk about it. I just want to talk about my specific experience with the internship and the work we did and some of the challenges I faced in that sense. So I'm from Tinton Falls, from Monmouth County. It's about an hour, 45 minutes from here, if you guys know of it. So my town is actually surrounded by a few different towns. It's a very diverse area in that sense. But I felt like I had a bit of a challenge in actually receiving feedback from certain municipalities. Out of the 10 that I contacted, I only received 2 responses back saying that they would definitely post the video that we wanted to spread around. But my problem with that is that I never actually saw the result of them posting that video. So that's something that I definitely want to address with interns in the future with the program, and working to help better establish it and better develop the mission of the program, is getting a better response. I know as a group we did a really good job of having positive experiences with the municipalities and conversations we had, but personally I would just have wished that I had a better response in that sense. But I know that at least I made a difference in raising awareness in a community that I've never heard address this issue. And being relatively close to Atlantic City, that was a big issue for me as well. So I also want to speak about the Human Trafficking Symposium that I helped plan with Mandy and Danny and a bunch of other people involved in the coalition. And this also transitions from my favorite part of the internship, the people that I met. I mean, working with Dr. Murray, Kate, Mandy, Tejal, it was so great. And then also being in a room with 12 other young adults like myself addressing an issue that I think is unique and not a lot of people my age really address it. I mean, I was literally in a group of 200 civic scholars, and I was the only one who ever wanted to pursue an issue like this. You know, others being hunger and homelessness and I guess common issues that the public seems to address. So the people, I really feel like I'm part of an organization that's unique and I love it and I feel like we're a big family. So that was my favorite part. But so one day after an internship meeting, I spoke to Mandy and told her how I wanted to do my senior civic event on human trafficking. And she told me that professor from Drew University, Dr. Linda Swerdlow, approached her and said that she wanted to hold an educational symposium at Drew University. And I wasn't aware of this, and I was really excited because, like I said, I never really met anyone at Drew who addressed this issue before. So I told her I wanted to be a part of the planning committee and also planning the event and making it a part of my senior civic project. So that's what I did. And I sat in on the phone conferences, and I really felt like I had an active role because I was really in charge of the facilities management and coordination at Drew. As a club leader and just being really involved on campus, I knew the ins and outs of actually planning an event at Drew University, and it's not as easy as you may think, scheduling a room and everything. So I was in charge of that, and I was in direct communication with Danny and Mandy in planning that and advertising to the rest of the campus and reaching out to different departments. So I definitely felt like I had an active role, and I was really a part of, you know, just a larger group. So the symposium was really meant to educate the public and educators in the community on how to use different tools on wellness practices, legal action, advocacy, education, all of the different areas that everyone in our coalition addresses, and then share it with the public. So we had a really good turnout. It was a really successful event, and I actually had people come up to me afterwards and speak to me about my involvement, how they can get involved, and you know, how surprised they were that it was such a prevalent issue in society because not a lot of people talk about it in the media. So that was really rewarding for me because I felt like my freshman year I was able to do something impactful, and my senior year I was able to do that as well. So now I can just talk about how I plan on continuing my work with the coalition and with my career in the future. So even though right now I'm getting my MBA in finance, I'm actually planning on going to law school after as well. So even though I really want to work primarily in the private sector, I will always have my passion for advocating against human trafficking, and I really want to use my law degree to do pro bono work and helping cases or being involved in cases dealing with human trafficking. So that's one of my long-term goals. But just staying involved with the coalition right now and speaking at events like this and attending them and passing on my interest with the Civic Scholars Program. I mean, my sister actually helped Miss Janice Kroposky plan an event at our high school, Monmouth Regional, on human trafficking. So just passing down, you know, the educational experience is really important for me. And I'm just grateful that I had this opportunity and that I was a senior when you came up with the internship program just in time. And I agree that I really liked how it was a month long because we were discussing this, you know, a lot of students are so busy during the semester that it's very hard to focus on things like that. And I liked how we had a distinct mission because I know a lot of people have internships and they feel like they weren't valuable or they didn't have enough contribution. But I know, like you were saying, a bunch of us continued our work with the coalition and in our schools and communities, just doing separate work with our different subcommittees and everything. So I really want to help plan this next internship, this internship program for the winter coming up, and I really want to stay involved. So I just want to thank you guys for welcoming me into this organization and for your continued support and for having me speak. Thank you. Now I'd like to present Gianluca Delia.
Hello, my name is Gianluca Delia. Like they said, I'm a student. I'm a senior journalism major at Rider University. So I kind of want to follow the same format as Jenna and focus on how I got interested in the issue, how I got interested in the coalition, what I did with my internship, and what I plan to do going forward. So my whole interest in human trafficking started out last fall. I studied abroad at John Cabot University of Rome in Italy, and I took an upper-level politics class called Human Trafficking and Contemporary Slavery. And this kind of just opened up my eyes to a whole new world, pretty much. I had heard the term human trafficking before, but I didn't know much about it. And through this class, I gained a very comprehensive knowledge of human trafficking as a global issue. So this class is focused on what's happening in Eastern Europe and in Africa and in Eastern Asia. But I never really found out through that class how much of an issue it was here in the United States until I did some of my own research on the side. And so I pretty much found the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking through a Google search of what's the situation of human trafficking in New York and New Jersey. And by luck, I found this internship program, and I was looking for ways to get involved, to learn more, to volunteer, so I applied to it right away, and that's how I ended up here. So I worked in the Coalition's internship program in January, and through this program, I really learned that human trafficking isn't just a global issue, but it's a community issue, and a lot of people don't know that. When I started telling people about my research project idea, which I'm going to get to in a couple of minutes, they would be like, human trafficking in New Jersey, really? Like, is that a thing that happens around here? And I was like, yeah, that's something that happens. I had done some research on statistics because when I was reaching out to mayors for the internship program, they would ask, like, what are the stats on this? Like, how prevalent of an issue is this? And then I would point them to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, and they organized their statistics by state. So when you look at the New Jersey file, it says that in 2016 there were 193 calls to the Human Trafficking Hotline from New Jersey, and over the past 9 years, since 2007, I don't do math, 10 years now, I guess, there were 2,918 calls from New Jersey to the hotline. So I really want to bring more awareness to this issue, and like Jenna, I had kind of a similar struggle with actually getting people to follow through on that promise to actually put all the info that we sent to them on their website. I had 3 different mayors say they were going to do it, and I kept checking the town website again and again on the news page, and it never came up. So I was a little disappointed because in the beginning I felt like I was doing all these things and like people are going to respond to this really well, and then it didn't always work out how I thought it would. But I felt fulfilled enough that I got the issue out there. But I think it speaks a lot to how we have a lot of work to do to get people to take the issue more seriously. I was especially surprised, as someone from Bergen County, I live about 20 minutes outside of New York City. Even in my own hometown of Dumont, I didn't get a response from the mayor. I was very shocked by that. But that just has motivated me more to do even more work with the coalition, to keep advancing awareness for this issue, like Esmeralda said before, with the quote from Frederick Douglass, that to expose slavery is to end it, right? Thank you. And going along with that, in the spirit of what Frederick Douglass said, is kind of how I came up with the idea for my senior research project, which is titled Slavery in Our State, Exploring Human Trafficking in New Jersey Through In-Depth Reporting. So I'm trying to take a journalism approach to this. I think something important that I learned when working at the coalition was that the solution to battling human trafficking comes through collaboration in a lot of different disciplines and fields. When I helped facilitate the trafficking and trauma workshop back in January, I met people from law enforcement, people who work in mental health, people from church communities, and I was kind of in awe about how many different angles you can approach this issue from. And so it left me thinking, what could I do as an aspiring reporter? As someone who has experience in journalism, how can I use my skills for that? I used to work at a newspaper in Hudson County, the Hudson Reporter. I covered news in Hoboken. So I was wondering, going from there, since that was my last work experience before I started the coalition, I wanted to know, what could I do next, and how could I apply my skills to this issue? So that's how I came up with the idea for my project. I met with the advisor of Riders Honors Program, back in February, and he was like, okay, so what do you want to do for your capstone project? Because that's what you have to do to finish the honors program at Rider. And I said, this might sound insane, but I want to do an in-depth reporting project with my journalism academic advisor as the supervisor on human trafficking in New Jersey. And he was like, oh no, that's a great idea, and you should apply for a research grant. And then I ended up receiving a $5,000 research grant to work on this project. Thank you. So it's a part of my tuition, scholarships that I'm very thankful for, because it will be really helpful to my work over the next year when I present my final product of this research in May. So I really want to raise awareness through this project. I want to learn what role journalists can play in battling and exposing this issue. And of course, this project wouldn't be anything without interviews from experts. So if anybody feels qualified to do so, you can talk, not to plug myself, but if anybody is interested in being a part of this project, it would mean a lot to me for my academic work. So that's what I want to do going forward. And of course, I want to stay active in the coalition too. So thank you all.
Okay, then I would love to have Jenna come up and Dr. Murray come up, and we'd like to thank them. You know, our youth is our lifeline, and these scholar activists are adding their voice, their vision, and are making our future possible. We have to keep it going, and I love their energy, and obviously I'm very grateful to Dr. Murray for her leadership when it comes to empowering these youth. So please accept the small token. So time goes so quickly, right? And yet there's still so much to do. We have some committee announcements that we'd like to share with everyone here. We want the work to keep going. Today is just the beginning, right? So we have several announcements by our healthcare committee, Traffic Slam, I Am Jane Doe, Legislative, Federal Action, and Social Media. And so I'm going to ask that our leaders come up in order and give us some of your announcements and share your energy and maybe even enroll us in some tasks, right, so that we can keep things going. First up, Healthcare Committee, please. We'll go back.
Hi, so I'm Susan Nayer, and I am the least productive of an amazing committee, and you will hear the details in just a minute. But what I wanted to do was give you an idea of how the committees work, so that you can picture yourself as you hear about these different committees and how you can fit in, and not just fit in, but explode it into something phenomenal. With every committee that we have and every committee we're going to create in the future. So Healthcare Committee, what we did was we identified, as all the committees had to, identify short-term and long-term goals. And what is so important is that every committee works in concert with every other committee. So at the beginning of the year for Human Trafficking Awareness Month, it was really working with the events committee and with the, survivor services committees and with everybody to put together some outstanding programs. And there were a total of, I think there were 4 of them throughout the state. And we focused on trauma-informed care. And then from that, we went on to a full-day training, and again, putting all our resources together, had an outstanding speaker come from Brigham and Women's Hospital. She's an ED doctor, and lead that program. And I do want to point out that a month before that program, I saw an article in the Boston Globe that in the emergency department, in the emergency room, they're used to all sorts of things coming in. And at Brigham and Women's Hospital, where our speaker was from, this woman came in and she said, I want to get this computer chip out of my arm. And so they're saying, oh yeah, so, and the crazies are after her, and what delusional system does she have? No, she had a chip embedded in her arm by her trafficker to keep track of her. So this is why it is crucial that healthcare providers know about this, because it's estimated from survivors that between 82 and 88% of people who are actively being trafficked have some contact with a healthcare provider while they're being trafficked. But if the healthcare providers don't know what to look for, they just get sent out. And so our training was outstanding. Alvina's going to talk about that, but also how it spreads. Because from that, we found out that Morristown Medical Center wanted training for their ED department. And sure enough, now we're working in concert, a couple of committees together working on that. And what you don't know is just yesterday I got an email, and that will be in the fall. And in March, we've been asked to do a program to educate psychologists for the Morris Union and Essex Psychological Associations. So you see it keeps spreading. So now, go for it.
That's wonderful, and we were actually reached out to recently by Inglewood Hospital to do something on human trafficking, so it's all very exciting. My name's Aldina Havji. I work with the New Jersey chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. And so May 5th, we had our healthcare committee's conference on trauma-informed care. We reached out to all kinds of healthcare providers. I think the most that showed up were school folks, which was fantastic. We'd like to continue that kind of work in the future and continue to have those sorts of conferences to educate healthcare providers, because like Susan said, the opportunity is very unique, and they really need to be taught how to identify those red flags, how to approach them in a trauma-informed manner so as to understand where they're coming from, and why they might not want to disclose, and how to handle those situations. So in the conference that we had back in May, which seems so long ago even though it was just a month ago, we had Hani Staklosa, who Susan mentioned. She is the executive director and founder of Heal Trafficking, as well as an emergency medicine doc at Brigham Women and Children's Hospital in Boston. She's unbelievable. She was amazing. She talked a little bit about trauma-informed care. She shared a video. She also helped to lead a panel discussion with some folks in New Jersey to really give everyone a glimpse of what is really happening in our state. And we actually did have someone from Children's Hospital of Philadelphia as well who came and spoke about what was going on at CHOP. And they want us to kind of come over and talk with them as well. We did a role-playing scenarios where we had someone who Hani recommended, who actually is at the School of Nursing in, I believe, Missouri, who actually created the role plays for us on a Sunday afternoon. And I talked with her. One was on labor trafficking and one was on sex trafficking, and they were real-life cases, which made it all the more impactful. And so we had 4 or 5 breakout sessions, which were led by social workers and physicians to really talk through what a healthcare provider and victim. And I actually, in my role-playing session, I played the trafficker who was kind of overseeing things. So it was a very interesting way, and actually recommended by Hani, to really get people to think about the different, how you might want to approach, and then really talking through that. And I'm looking back there because there were some people back there that were in the one that I was in. But from what I've heard and from all of the evaluations that have come through so far, it was very, very well received. Future plans, I know we're going to be having a meeting in the next 2 weeks to really talk through some things. Robert Wood Johnson put out a survey. I don't have the details in front of me. Diana Staros, who really is a rock star and really needs to be commended because of her work on this committee. She's just amazing. She put out this survey to all of Robert Wood, which was, I guess she did it through a Vectra system, which allowed for a huge response rate because people thought they had to do it, which turned out to be very, very effective. So people completed the survey, and it was amazing to kind of see the number of people who don't believe it's happening, who don't think that it's happening, don't think they need to have that information. So because of that, we're going to be meeting next week, I believe, to help them put together a human trafficking 101 for the hospital, and that'll kind of serve as a pilot. So I think that will be amazing. And just to let you know really quickly, so the New Jersey chapter of the AAP, it's in our agenda for children to have a culture of safety, to build a culture of safety for children. So not only with child abuse and neglect, gun violence, but human trafficking as well. And that's a huge passion of mine, and it's something that we're really looking to move ahead. We had our children's ball back in April, and we were able to dedicate some of the funding raised specifically for human trafficking. We want to continue to partner with the coalition to raise additional funds, to seek additional grant opportunities. I'm going down to a national AAP district meeting at the end of this month in Naples, and we're doing a brief presentation on human trafficking, what we've done, and what other chapters of the AAP can do. And we have some statistics specific to their states to show them what's really happening in their states. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because you know those statistics are really just what's been reported. While we're doing that, we're also going to encourage them to reach out to their local coalitions in their states to partner, because they're the people who, you guys are the ones who know what's really happening in the state and what's needed. So that's that. Who am I giving this to next?
Lindsay?
Good morning. I am Wincy Terry Bryant, and I have the coolest spot in the whole coalition. I'm in charge of fun. Who here likes to have fun? Aha, that's what I'm talking about. So, we are going to have fun on June 22nd from 6 to 10 at the APA Hotel in Woodbridge, Island, where we are going to celebrate all of our accomplishments. We want to celebrate you and how you've reached out and how you've made bridges for us and linked arms with us and helped us get all of this work done. We couldn't have done it without each and every one of you. We want you to bring your friends and your family members so they could see how much fun we are and how we know how to have fun. And we are having what we call Traffic Slam. And it's a spin on a program that I started called Traffic Jam. And we are inviting people to come and submit poems. So today is actually the deadline for poems, and some of you said you're bringing your poems today. If you want to email me, I'm going to give you my email address before we leave. If you want to email me, if you want to send your poem in because you forgot it, we want you to bring your poems. If you want to sing a song, my live band will be there. So we'll have live music. We're going to have a whole bunch of delicious food. Kate's going to be cooking all day. No, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. No, the hotel is going to make sure that we have lots of food to eat throughout the evening. So we want to make sure that you come. Now, I know some people are thinking right now, well, I'm not really a poet, but check this out. If I said roses are red, you'd say, see what I mean? You are a poet. So you can absolutely write a poem, okay? You can write a poem. And what's even cooler is that we have made arrangements to give out prizes for the poems that speak to the coalition's mission. So we hope that you will join us. Like I said, there's going to be some live music and like some sing-along. So if you love to sing and you can't sing, that doesn't even matter. Come and sing. Come and have a good time with us. If I said to you, keep smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count on me, for sure, you'd say, That's exactly what I'm saying. We are going to have so much fun that night. I hope that you will come and see us on June 22nd. Register online. We really need to know how many people are coming. So the suggested donation is anywhere from $40 to $100, but don't let that be the reason that you don't come. If that's the reason that you're not coming, come anyway, and we'll make arrangements. We got lots of money. You said you got lots of money. We'll make sure you get in, okay? Thank you so much. I'm giving this to Susan. Oh. And we want to just say, so submit your poems before midnight. You can send them here. Perfect. Send them to this email address. And, yeah, send them to the email address. And, and we also want to just speak very quickly about the students from the Eastern Christian High School that made the centerpieces for us. You see these beautiful pots that they hand-painted, and we'll give you an opportunity to take one of those home with you if you come on Thursday. So thank you again so much. You next? So I'm introducing Susan Panzica.
And Sue Rosenthal. Susan and I are a part of the amazing 4 Susans that sit at the meeting. So if you don't know who we are, you just look, you'll see all the Susans. I'm most excited on behalf of a multitude of organizations, because most of us wear many hats, to invite you to a screening of I Am Jane Doe. Those of you who are on Netflix regularly may have seen it pop up back in May, and if you saw it, please come see it again. This is an amazing documentary made by the families of children who were trafficked in Washington State and their fight against Backpage.com. I'm not going to go into great detail about it, but in addition to that, we're going to have a panel speaking following the film, which includes one of the people involved in the film. Outside I believe on the tables outside are flyers. We also have the flyers available online. If you need additional flyers, please contact us. It's very, very important that people come out and be educated. Besides which, just so you're aware, even though the flyer says Morris Plains, that's its mailing address. We're actually in Parsippany, right 2 minutes off of Route 10. And most importantly, as you're coming down Route 10, you're going to go right past a hotel, which is the site of human trafficking, major arrest about 4 years ago. And you should be aware that the Parsippany police, along with Sue Rosenthal, because I can't go past that place without seeing all kinds of cars that look very strange, it's still a site of human trafficking. So we hope you will come. Please do register. If you can't register, or you can only come at the last minute, fine, do come. But our synagogue does have security. It's volunteer. But obviously, we're very concerned about who's going to be coming into that building as well. I now turn it over to Susan Panzica.
Thank you, Sue. Our journey to bring I Am Jane Doe to New Jersey actually began in January when I found out that it was going to be released in the theaters in February. And through long discussions with the production company, we finally are really pleased that we're able to bring it to northern New Jersey in July. We would like to actually thank the Community Foundation of New Jersey and Marguerite Lorenz. Are you here today, Marguerite? Okay, well, we just really want to give a shout out because part of the issue with bringing the film here was the expense that was involved. It is a very expensive film to bring to our communities, largely because a lot of the money that they require for the screening is going to survivors. So we do appreciate that fact, and so there is a suggested donation of $10 if people, can donate that. But we do thank the Community Foundation because they made a generous donation to cover the entire cost of the North Jersey screening. We will have 2 more Yes, let's give them a. We will have screenings in Central and South Jersey that we're still waiting on the exact locations and dates. I do want to point out also, even though you can watch the movie at home on Netflix, there is a great advantage to coming out to an event like this, and one is the panel of expert speakers. Penny Venetis is an attorney that is featured in the film. She represented the families that brought Backpage to court, and so she is going to be one of our featured speakers on the expert panel. We also have invitations to Senator Cory Booker, to Congressman Chris Smith, and so we're hoping that they would be here as well. And we will have other experts. Also at the film, we don't want to just inform people, but we want to give them action steps that they can take. Because William Wilberforce said, you can look the other way, but you can never again say you did not know. So my paraphrase is, now you know, what are you going to do with what you know? And we want to equip people to make a difference, to leave that film knowing that there are things that they can do. And so with that, I'm going to turn this over to Kate, who's going to tell us what the Legislative Committee action points are. So thank you.
Well, I'll shortly be turning this over to the specific leaders, but I wanted just to give everybody you've heard from Mandy about our committee. Really, this committee has only come into being in about a month and a half's time since we did another roundtable legislative workshop. We did one 6 years ago here at Kane. It was the genesis of this coalition. So doing it again was a very powerful experience. And what's come out of that are 5 brand new subcommittees. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the co-chairs and the chairs of those subcommittees. If anybody is on a legislative committee in any way, even if you're a chair or subcommittee, please stand up. Thank you very much. It's actually a large network of people, but what you're going to hear is that, yes, of course, there will be people wanting to do things, but we want them to be done in the right way. And we are an organization of organizations, and that gives us a particular extra burden. And so I'd now like to invite Greg Quinlan and Claire Van der Tyne, who are in fact our federal law experts, or will become our experts. And they can tell you all about what they're going to be looking into for action items for the I Am Jane Doe screening.
Want me to start? Hi, I'm Greg. I'm the overdressed one. Nobody told me this was a casual meeting, so very quickly, thank you so much. Thank you. I've been lobbying for 30 years. So on various subjects. I'm with the Center for Garden State Families. We're a Christian family advocacy organization, one of the diverse groups that are a part of this coalition. There were several things that we've discussed. We've discussed a lot of stuff, but I do want to tell you some advantages we have right here in New Jersey, is that Rodney Frelinghuysen is the chair of the House Appropriations Committee. And one of the things we've talked about is the funding mechanisms behind everything that we do. So I had a nice conversation, as I would say Providence had it. I was at the Morris County Chamber of Commerce meeting and breakfast, really nice breakfast for a whole lot of money. But the point was that I got to meet with Rodney. He was the speaker, and we talked for a little bit, and he actually pulled me aside to the wall, and we talked for a little bit more. He's very interested in what we're doing. He's very interested in some of the pieces of legislation that are out there, and I told him what we really need is the money to fight human trafficking. He agreed. So I'm working on getting an appointment with him so we can just talk more in specifics on some of the legislation. So, and also too, I did have the opportunity, I don't know how many months ago it was, 2 months ago now I guess, to be in Washington DC and work on another piece of legislation. Many of the pieces of legislation that have gone through are to work at the aftermath of human trafficking, the issue of human trafficking. But very little has been done for the prevention of human trafficking. So we do have here in New Jersey, and we're working on putting this into the federal legislation. In fact, we were invited by Senator Menendez's office to talk about this legislation. It's the Human Trafficking and Child Exploitation Prevention Act. And you know, sometimes too, the problem that we have is gathering accurate information that is verifiable on the statistic end. This is also something we can do with our legislation, is to put that in there to make sure that law enforcement has that statistical information. So there's so much we can do on a legislative level. I'm speaking in general terms now, but that's just to give you an idea. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. So this is an annual meeting. Normally we would tell you what we've done in the past year, but we can't. So because we've just been formed in the last couple of weeks. So now we're going to give you just a feel for what we are projecting that we're going to be reaching for, just so you have an understanding, and hopefully so you might want to join us. So as you saw, the subcommittees that were mentioned, hotline and awareness, education and training, curbing demand, survivor services, and federal legislation and initiative is our little piece of that. This all together forms the legislative committee. And so if you feel like you want to contribute to just one section of that, that would be fabulously helpful. What we're going to try to do is put in place a very, very rigorous research and vetting process. We want to make sure that we're responsible to our member organizations. If the coalition comes out on behalf of an action, an activity, a piece of legislation, we want to feel like our position is bulletproof. We want to know that we've seen every single side of it, every single unintended consequence has been turned over, every rock has been argued. We want to know that we are not using our coalition members' good graces in vain, and that we can defend it. That unfortunately means that we're going to make ourselves jump through a whole lot of hoops, and we may not be able to act quite as quickly or quite as obviously on things that you may bring to us that are going to look like no-brainers. Because the truth is, nothing's a no-brainer. Everything has to be looked at and looked at carefully, so I'm going to just give you that disclaimer up front. Don't expect us to have this trigger reaction to things, because we're going to vet. We're going to vet it really hard, and we're going to try to vet it really carefully from as many points of view as we can. And we just want to be responsible to the issue, because we want to build credibility in Washington on these issues, and we don't want to be looked at as another harebrained special interest group who is going to be here today and gone tomorrow on an issue because it's hot that moment. So that's really important to us. Just also know that things like going to the Jane Doe event is very, very important, because we are going to have political representatives there who are going to be looking at the level of enthusiasm and developing with us strategies and partnerships going forward for initiatives. So anything you can do to push and make that an important movement, understand that is in itself an advocacy event as well. I just want to mention to you just the kinds of things that we will take on, so that you know to call us when you've got something that you want us to look at. We're going to be looking at HR 1865, Congresswoman Ragner's bill. As many of you know, that in New Jersey we passed the strongest human trafficking law in the country, and we did. There was, yay! Sadly, there is a portion of that law that has not been put into effect because it was stopped by the federal courts. There are now a variety of efforts to try to initiate federal legislation that will get us past those First Amendment and other barriers that were put up against it by the court. That's part of what HR 1865 will address. We'll also address the SAVE Act, which passed last year, to see what's effective, what's not effective, why is it working, why is it not working. On a federal level, that is in some ways similar to the experience that we've had with the John schools and what our young interns experienced, which is you can go to the pond and you can say, this is in the water now, you can drink it. But it doesn't mean they're going to. And it's that follow through that's really, really key. And so we need to be, as a federal voice as well as a state voice, constantly pushing to make sure that the initiatives that we're bringing forward aren't just lip service, but have real on the ground, long-term measurable outcomes. Dawn with Dream Catchers, discussion of having a cleanpage.com to have an alternative to a backpage.com, First Amendment issues, internet blocking chips that can now be put in internet devices for all kinds of banned material. There are any number of things that are going to come under the rubric of federal legislation, assuming that the other 4 subcommittees are working at the state level. We're just the value added. Because we know that whatever we do in New Jersey that may or may not work on the state level has only as much value as the ripple effect nationally. So that's what we do. And we're hoping, cheer for us.
We're done. So you didn't hand this to me for something else. Okay, good.
And I'm the wrap-up. So I'm here to represent Chris, who couldn't make it today, but we appreciate all of her work with media. Media covers a lot of things. By the way, thank you, Bergen Record, for being here to cover this very important event for us today. Media is important. As was mentioned by our interns, we partner with media. They're one of our #1 advocates because they're bringing the issue whether through the arts or through the media. And so we really appreciate the partnership. But we also we need assistance from you. We have social media. We currently have a Twitter page and a Facebook page. We're working on Instagram. If you are interested in partnering with us, we need your help. If you have pictures like those you're taking today, we're asking, post them on your social media pages, tag us, put it on our pages. We want to make sure we represent the coalition by not just me in front of a sign. You've seen me enough times in front of our sign. I love our signs, by the way. But we want to see you. We want to see what you're doing. And we really can't be everyone. And as awesome as our photographers are when they come to these events and our media, they can't capture everything everywhere. So and now our cell phones are really helpful because they have good pictures these days. So we are asking you to send it our way. Engage with us. Put your tweets and your posts and tag each other. That helps us a lot to build our brand, to get out to your friends. So that's really important. But also on our website, we are revitalizing our blog. And we want to put the highlight back on you and your organization because we are a many-membered body. And we want to highlight how the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking has engaged your organization. And we want to feature your organization in a blog. And we need you to submit those blog posts for this year. We're asking by August 1st that you send in your blog, roughly around 500 word, with a graphic sharing how we have helped you and engaged your community. That helps our community and everyone we reach in our state, and even other states are being informed by our best practices how we're engaging more than just a particular kind of group, but we are very diversified. And as I mentioned previously, our diversity is our strength. And we want your organizations that you represent to also be honored by our organization. And so we recognize that. So media is a part of that. And I just want to take one moment to let you know, here on Kean University, Kean has been part of our start as a coalition, but it also is part of our future. And this year, our big push as we're moving forward is to recognize where we have come from. And so in doing so, this January, we are having our first ever, what we're calling we haven't really tweaked the title yet, Founders Ball, Founders Gala, right here at Kean University. And we will be initiating some of our first awards. We're working on that as well. But we want to invite you. We don't have an exact date, but we hope you will join us on this historical event to bring back people that are part of our past, honoring our past as we go forward. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask if there are any of the founding members of the coalition here today, if you would please stand. We would like to honor you. Thank you for your vision to start us. Thank you for your vision to drive us on. We are honored to be a part of you, and that we all together we can end this. And together we're united, uniting New Jersey communities to abolish human trafficking. So I'm going to just turn this back over to our lovely president who did an awesome job. We appreciate you, Esmelda.
Thank you, Mandy. It's kind of coming to a close, yes? But there's a wonderful quote by Audre Lorde, who I adore. She is also another scholar, activist, writer, poet, right? And she said, "You are the ones you've been waiting for." Right? So dare to be powerful, dare to be vision-driven, and you'll find that as you dare, you become less and less afraid. And it becomes less important whether you're afraid or not, right? So what I'd love to do is open it up to any questions. If anybody has any thoughts, any announcements from your organizations, I'm opening the floor now. Good. Sounds like you are complete. So thank you very much for coming today, and I look forward to having conversations and seeing you at the Traffic Slam, June 22nd. Thanks.